Hello everyone, this is Leo from the Monkeys Making Misplaced channel, and today we'll be moving on to another installment of the a quick intro series. And today we'll be talking about the Stoichea glitter deck, which is known as Rorowa. Rorowa is a grade 3 lyrical deck that was introduced in set 5, with the first form being, for once precious things, Rorowa. He had two abilities, the first one being an act that says Soul Blast 1, call up to 3 point tokens. Essentially, he created you a board for a Soul Blast, which was pretty good. And then his second ability is, when this unit is attacked, you can retire one or more of your tokens, and it gets +5 until end of battle for each unit retired for the cost. So, from the first impressions, we thought, oh, this deck is going to be very defensive. That's what we're going to try and do. We're going to try and protect ourselves with Rorowa. Maybe we make a bunch of plant tokens. Maybe we make tokens that count as more than one. Because although the first ability only makes plant tokens, the second ability doesn't only reference plant tokens, which means that if you created a different type of token, as we will see moving forward, you can also retire that token to give Rorowa an extra 5k. The first card we'll be talking about, which will be the other card that was released in DBT05, is the Grade 2 Ratalina. She has two abilities, the first one being, if you do not have a Momoke token, you can counterblast 1 to call up to 1 Momoke token. We will talk about the Momoke token after, but let's finish talking about Ratalina first. She also has another ability that is tied to your Vanguard being Glitter and Rorowa that says when this unit attacks, Soul Blast 1, choose one of your units in the same column as this unit, and this unit gets the power of that unit until end of the battle. You might be wondering, well, if you're just boosting, does it just count as a double boost? And that's where we will start talking about the Momoke token. The Momoke token has two abilities. The first one being that once per turn, you can retire any number of other rear guards to give him +5k for each rear guard retired. So you could give him +20k if you retire a full board, obviously, except him. And then the second ability is Glitter, Rorowa. If you have a unit with Ratalina in the same column as him, he can attack from the back row, which essentially opened up this deck to have 4 attacks right off the gate, giving it a much needed aggression, as well as, since the Ratalina is grade 2, you are able to create 4 attacks as soon as your grade 2 turn, because the right line all has Rorowa in it. From these first few cards, this is pretty much all we received for Rorowa, support-wise, or direct support-wise. The deck seemed pretty cool. It was pretty fun. You could run out of Soul, seeing as both Rorowa used Soul to make tokens, and Ratalina used Soul to attack every turn. You were very weak to removal. It was sometimes hard to find the Ratalina, so the deck wasn't very good right off the rip, but it was definitely fun, and you could do things with it. Then we got a promo, which solved one of the issues with the deck, and that was Resolute Pair of Eyes, a grade 3 set order that says counterblast 1, retire rearguard. When it's put into the order zone, you can search your deck for up to 1 card with Ratalina in its card name, add it to hand, shuffle your deck. This solves the issue of not being able to find the Ratalina you need to perform the multi-attack. I would have preferred if this order had been grade 2, so that you could play it earlier on, maybe play it at grade 2 so you can get that early rush. But unfortunately, it is a grade 3, so you have to wait until you're at grade 3 to play it. But hey, it searches a card, as well as having a secondary effect that says Order Zone. During your turn, if you have Vanguard with Rorowa in its card name, all of your back row tokens get +5k. Since Momoke is in the back row, this automatically turns him into a 10k, which means to hit a grade 3 Vanguard, you would only need to retire 1 rearguard, which would bring him up to 15k. So this promo solved an issue that was prevalent in the deck of sometimes whiffing your Ratalinas. Then we move on to set 8, if I remember correctly, and this is where we were introduced to more support for Rorowa, the key support being the grade 3 version of Ratalina. Her first ability said, at the beginning of your main phase, if you do not have a Momoke token on your rear, you call up to 1 Momoke token. So unlike the old Ratalina that cost a CP, this one will just make it for free. And then her second ability was what really, I think, leveled up this deck. From hand, at the end of battle, your unit with Ratalina in its card name attacked. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you retire a rearguard with Ratalina in its card name and a Momoke token. Call that card to rear, or call this card to rear, and this unit's power increases by the power of the Momoke token retired for this ability. This brought a 5th attack to Rorowa, which was very, very needed. A very strong ability, being able to now procure 5 attacks if you're going second, right, is insane amounts of pressure, and with the grade 3 order, you're able to find the Ratalina you need when you need it. But we will start seeing a glaring issue in this, is that there is a lot of grade 3s you need to play, because at minimum you have to play at least 3 Rorowas in the main deck. For Persona Rights, you want to play a full set of the Grade 3 because you want to be able to do that multi-attack, and you want to play a full set of Resolute Pair of Eyes because it makes finding what you need much easier. This brings us to a total of 11 Grade 3s in main deck, which can be a little rough for early game guarding and can cause you to get rushed yourself when you were supposed to be a rush deck, and the defensive capabilities of the Grade 3 Rorowa obviously don't show up until Grade 3. But nonetheless, the deck is still very strong, and we will now talk about some of the other cards that were released alongside the Grade 3 Radalina in Set 8, starting off with a Grade 3 Dragon, known as Full Blown Dragon, that says at the end of your turn, if your Vanguard is Glitter, put this unit into your soul and call it to 2 plant tokens. Essentially, this is to allow you to have tokens to use to retire to guard with your Rorowa's ability, as well as creating some extra soul. Unfortunately, there is not enough room to play another Grade 3. If this had been on something like a Grade 2, I would prefer it much more. You probably won't see this in any normal Rorowa list, but it is a card for him specifically, so I have to mention it here. Then we received a Grade 1 in Signpost Fairy that says when it's retired from rear by your card's ability, if your Vanguard is Glitter, choose one of your Grade 1 or less rear guards and you get plus 10k. This is supposed to combo with Momoke, being able to retire just this and gain 15k, which would mean bring Momoke to 20. If you have at least one Resolute Pair of Eyes, that's 25k, which means you get through one defensive. I do believe some decks still play this, just for that extra power that it can give you. You might not see it anymore moving into the Set 13 meta, because we have received plenty of other cards, which we will talk about right now. But the last card from Set 8 was To the Shining Stage, which is a Grade 1 normal order that says play this with Soul Blast 1 if you have Vanguard with Rorowa in its card name. Choose a card from your drop with grade less than or equal to your Vanguard, call it to rear. Then if you have a rear guard with Radalina in its card name, you can call plant token. So essentially you get to make a column for a Soul Blast, as long as you call the Radalina, right? Or if you already have a Radalina, you can call something else and still get a plant token. Not great, again, because as you've seen, the issue with the amount of grade of cards without shield you're playing in the deck is already so high, it makes it a little rough to play orders. If you do play an order besides Resolute Pair of Eyes, it has to really do something insane to really merit what its slot in the deck. But moving on, we will now be talking about the latest wave of support for Rorowa, the Grade 11 support, or the Grade 11, excuse me, that's Dragon Tree. The Set 11 support from Clash of the Heroes. We were introduced to a new form of Rorowa in a Viridescent Flash Rorowa. This is the evolved form of Rorowa, still being Grade 3, but it has the ability, when it's placed by writing from the old Rorowa, for Once Precious Things, you can call up to 2 plant tokens, and they get, when this unit is retired from here, draw a card, and you activate Persona Right. This ability lets you not have to or keep cards in hand, because you have to obviously commit a lot of things to board. You have to, every turn at least, waste a Grade 2 Radalina and a Grade 3 to do the 5 attack combo, and then you still have to call something else on the other rear. This allows you to just draw some cards for killing those plant tokens. Then its second ability is when it attacks, you bind a For Once Precious Things Rorowa from Soul, choose one of your Glitter rear guards, and until end of turn, that unit and this unit gain plus 5k, and then this unit gains a crit, and then at the end of turn, you write the card bound for this cost. Essentially giving Rorowa a ability to switch between being offensive and defensive by being able to go into a Viridescent Flash to attack, and then returning to For Once Precious Things Rorowa to defend, which is a very interesting way to play the deck. I think that it's very cool that you can switch from offensive to defensive. I don't think there's really any other deck that can do that as well as Rorowa can, right? That is the game plan of Rorowa, is to switch from aggro to defense. And then, personally, I think that this Rorowa is very cool. I think it's very strong. Being able to gain a crit means that your opponent is more likely to guard your Vanguard. Because before, your Vanguard would be so weak, and then the only pressure it had were drive checks. But now, with a Viridescent Flash, it gains a crit, which means your opponent can't just take it willy-nilly. Because if you get a crit, that's 3 damage. If you get 2, that's 4 damage. And the old Rorowa, you had to, hopefully if it hit a crit, it didn't get any power really, so it was pretty weak, all things considered. But another card we received in Set 11 is Kind Intentions Hunter, Matthias. That says when it's placed on rear from hand, if you have a Grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Rorowa in its card name, you can Soul Blast 1, retire 2 other rear guards, choose a Grade 2 or less card from your drop, and call it to rear. The goal of this card, I assume, is to be able to bring back your Ratalinas, and also since it retires 2 rear guards, I'm assuming, obviously I don't know what Bushiroad intends or what they plan, but I'm assuming that they want you to retire the 2 plant tokens that the Rorowa makes to draw 2 cards. That seems to be kind of what they're hinting at, right, with the 2 rear guards, because I definitely believe that could have been retire 1 rear guard and a Soul Blast, or instead of being a Soul Blast and retire 2, it could have just been retire 2, but the card's already out, nothing we can do about it. Not very, very incredible in this deck with the fact that you can search the Grade 2 Ratalino with Resolute Pair of Eyes, and you should be able to get it back pretty easily. Worst case, you just keep the Grade 3 on board. The Grade 3 Ratalina doesn't specifically need you to require the Grade 2 Ratalina, so you could as easily retire the Grade 3 and not have to worry about anything like that. But Matthias also had another ability that says front row rear. At the beginning of your battle phase, if you have a unit with Rorowa in its card name and a unit with Ratalina in its card name, you can call a plant token. It is free, right? Can't argue against that. It is free, a free plant token. I feel like maybe they could have given you 2. Again, I know the card's already out, but you know, we can all wish. And that is all the cards that are specific to Rorowa. But we will talk about some of the cards they play in this deck that aren't specific to Rorowa. That being Burrow Mushrooms, that says put this unit into your soul, call up to 2 plant tokens to rear, and then the rest of the effect doesn't matter because it relates to Granfia, so it doesn't work with Rorowa. This card is the answer to Rorowa's soul issue, being able to just put itself in a soul, make you 2 plants. It's incredible. You can keep using it. If you have 2 in hand, you can just put both, get 4 tokens, and then have Momoke eat all of them to gain an extra 20k. Or you can just have really strong boosters because of Resolute Pair of Eyes. You just leave 2 plant tokens in the back row, and now you have 15k boosters, or excuse me, 10k boosters with 1 Resolute Pair of Eyes, and they'll incrementally stack by 5k each turn. Another card that you will see in a lot of these decks is the Cycler for Stoicheia. Obviously, the normal effect we've seen before. When it's discarded from hand during right phase, Soul Blast 1, bottom it, draw a card. You know, it just keeps cards in deck, lets you draw more, and then the second ability allows you to, when you Persona Red, Counterblast 1 to stun a rear guard, if I remember correctly. I don't have the card in front of me, but it'll be here on screen, and you'll be able to see the effect. I know some people play it at a full set of 4, some people play it at 2. I personally haven't tried it, but I don't think it's great. But nonetheless, here it is. You can look at the effect. I'll have the effects there on screen. And the last card that I've seen people play, this is a very niche card, but it is Blessings to the Flower Buds, which is a grade 0 order, and I know we argued against the grade 1 order for Rorowa from earlier, but this one's grade 0. It doesn't cost any soul or CB. It just says until end of turn, all of your units with original power 5k get plus 10k, and when this unit attack hits, you can return to hand. This makes Momoke 15k right off the bat, just by being a grade 0 token, as well as making your other plant tokens incredibly huge, right? You now get 15k with a Resolute Pair of Eyes on board. You're looking at 20k tokens, which is very strong. Obviously, they clash with each other, right? You can't play both Resolute Pair of Eyes at the same turn you play this, but in the early game, when you're aggressing with your grade 2 Ratalina on grade 2 turn, playing this would give your board an insane amount of power. Momoke would be 15k, which means that Ratalina would be 25k on attack, which means that it gets through a defensive. Any other plant tokens you call would also be giant. So if you created a column of just plant tokens, that'd be a 30k column, which means that if your opponent is at grade 2, it gets through 2 defensive, excuse me. And if they're at grade 1, well, they're gonna have to waste some cards in hand. But this is a very, very cool card that you can try out. I know it does clash with your grade 3 order, but you're trying to use these in the early game, so if you see more than you need, you can always use them as pitch fodder. There's no really good pitch fodder in this deck. You kind of want to keep all your cards. So this gives it sort of a multi-purpose of being very good pitch fodder because you only use it on your grade 2 turn primarily, as well as being very decent pitch fodder. But with that, we have wrapped up. There is not a lot of different choices in Rorowa. Pretty cut and dry deck. We did receive a promo, I believe, or we are going to be receiving a promo, I believe, in January that allows you to skip from the original Rorowa to the new Viridescent Flash. But I don't like talking about cards that we don't have right now, unless it's like a whole deck. right? But this is just a card that we don't know when we're gonna get it. And I don't like talking about promos because sometimes Bushiroad will just screw us and then leave the card not in printing for like a year. And I know they've gotten a lot better at it, but I still prefer to not give people false hopes until the card is actually out. Then I'll talk about it. We might even do some deck profiles about these cards when those promos come out. I know Thigrea got one, and I know Rorowa got one, so we might do another wave of the glitter decks or upgrade them again. Those decks I always have built, so I have a lot of fun playing them. I have a lot of fun testing them, and that promo might actually be something that I think the deck definitely needed. But with that, I'll leave you guys. Thank you all for watching.